Most smart home tech marketed to seniors is basically surveillance dressed up as safety. Motion sensors, fall detectors, medication reminders, they all sound helpful until you realize they're uploading your parents' every movement to a corporate server. I'm Chelsea Miller, and I found out the hard way when my father's helpful fall detection camera was feeding continuous video straight to Amazon's cloud. So I tore it all out and rebuilt his system from scratch using local-only automation. Here's how you can do the same without turning your loved one's home into a data farm. You're listening to the Smart Home Setup Podcast. Quick heads up before we go any further. The research and script you're hearing is completely human-written and fact-checked by real people. But the voice you're hearing right now is AI-generated. Just wanted to be upfront about that. Anyway, I'm really glad you're here. If you've been listening for a while, thanks for coming back. If this is your first episode, welcome aboard. I think you'll find this stuff useful. We drop new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so there's always something new to check out. Today, we're talking about building smart home systems for aging parents without turning their house into a corporate surveillance operation. Let's jump in. So, what exactly are we talking about when we say smart tech for seniors? We're talking about home automation devices designed specifically to support aging in place. Things like motion sensors that can detect falls, voice-controlled lights that eliminate stumbling hazards in the dark, medication reminders that actually get noticed, and door sensors that alert caregivers if someone wanders outside at 3 in the morning. The key difference from regular smart home gear is that senior-focused systems are supposed to prioritize simplicity, reliability, and safety over flashy features. Here's the problem, though. Most commercial senior tech platforms require cloud subscriptions, monthly monitoring fees, and constant internet connectivity. Companies like LifeStation and Medical Guardian will charge you $30 to $50 every single month for systems that completely stop working if your internet drops or they decide to shut down their servers. Their marketing emphasizes 24/7 monitoring, which sounds great, but what they conveniently don't mention is that their back-end systems are analyzing movement patterns, bathroom visit frequency, sleep schedules, basically data gold for insurance companies and pharmaceutical advertisers. There's a better way. Build senior automation using local protocols like Zigbee, Z-Wave, or Matter, running through a self-hosted hub like Home Assistant. Your parent gets the same fall detection, the same medication reminders, the same emergency alerts, but the data never leaves the house. No monthly fees, no surveillance, no sudden service shutdowns when some venture-backed startup folds. The catch? You'll need to set it up yourself or hire someone who actually understands local automation. There's no customer support hotline to call when something goes wrong. You're trading corporate hand-holding for actual control. For a lot of people, that's a trade worth making. Now, let's talk about how these systems actually work. Senior-focused smart home setups rely on 4 core components. You've got sensors that detect motion, falls, and door openings. You've got notification mechanisms like lights, speakers, and phone alerts. You've got control interfaces, voice assistants, wall-mounted tablets, physical buttons. And then you've got the automation logic, the if-then rules that tie everything together. Starting with the sensor layer, most senior monitoring uses passive infrared motion sensors distributed throughout the home. These detect body heat movement, but don't capture images, which is a critical privacy distinction we'll come back to. A typical setup includes Zigbee motion sensors in hallways, bathrooms, and bedrooms with detection latency around 50 to 200 milliseconds. You've got Z-Wave door and window contact sensors on exit doors with 30 to 100 millisecond latency. Pressure-sensitive floor mats near beds and bathrooms give you immediate response with no wireless latency at all. And smart buttons placed bedside or in bathrooms for manual emergency alerts. Here's the critical privacy difference. PIR sensors report motion detected or motion cleared as a binary state. They can't record faces. They can't track individuals across rooms. They can't determine what you're doing, just that movement occurred. Cloud-based video systems like Nest Aware or Ring store continuous footage and run it through facial recognition and activity classification algorithms. Your parents' bathroom habits shouldn't be anyone's business, including yours as the caregiver. Here's an automation example. If the motion sensor in the bedroom shows no activity for 12 hours and the front door sensor hasn't opened, then send an SMS alert to the caregiver saying, "No activity detected since this timestamp." Simple, effective, and it doesn't require cameras watching your parents sleep. For fall detection specifically, you combine multiple sensors. If the bathroom motion sensor triggers and then no motion is detected for 10 minutes afterward and the bathroom door remains closed, then flash all lights red, play an alert tone on the smart speaker, and send an emergency SMS. This logic produces minimal false positives because it requires multiple conditions. If your parent simply sits on the toilet for 10 minutes scrolling their phone, the door sensor won't be closed the entire time, so no alert fires. You adjust timing thresholds based on observed patterns. After a week of monitoring, you'll know typical bathroom visit durations and can fine-tune from there. Moving on to control interfaces. Most seniors struggle with smartphone apps. The just ask them to open an app and press a button approach fails when arthritis makes touchscreens difficult or cognitive decline makes navigation confusing. Effective senior interfaces use three main approaches. First, voice control via local processing. An Amazon Echo Dot 5th generation, check the link below to see the current price, can process basic commands locally without cloud dependency if you configure it correctly. Set up Zigbee device control through Home Assistant's local voice processing using Raspi or Wyoming protocol. Your parent says, "Turn on bedroom light," and the command never leaves the network. Amazon's default cloud processing analyzes every utterance for advertising profiles, but local voice processing strips that out. Google Nest speakers support limited local control through Matter.1.4, though Google still phones home far more than I'd like. For true privacy, skip the branded assistants entirely. Use a Raspberry Pi 4 Model B, check the link below for that too, running Home Assistant with a USB microphone and Raspi voice engine. Your parent still gets voice control, but zero data leaves the house. The setup requires technical knowledge. Expect 4 to 6 hours of configuration if you're comfortable with Linux command line. Second approach, physical buttons everywhere. Stick Zigbee buttons on walls, nightstands, and bathroom counters. Program single press to call for help, double press to turn on lights, long press to trigger good night automation where lights turn off and doors lock. The Aqara wireless mini switch, again, check the link below, is Zigbee-based, costs around $15, and lasts over 2 years on a coin battery. No apps, no screens, just press. Third, wall-mounted tablets with simplified dashboards. Mount an old iPad or Android tablet in the kitchen, running Home Assistant's dashboard with giant buttons. Turn on all lights, lock doors, call daughter's name, disable all other apps. Lock the tablet into kiosk mode so your parent can't accidentally exit to confusing menus. Now let's talk about notification systems, because when something goes wrong, a fall, a midnight door opening, medication missed, your notification system needs redundancy. Internet fails, phones die, people ignore texts. You want multi-channel alerting. If an emergency event is detected, then flash all smart lights red. Zigbee lights respond in 50 to 200 milliseconds, even if internet is down. Play a loud alert tone on all smart speakers. Local Zigbee or Thread speakers work offline. Send SMS to the caregiver phone. This requires internet, but fails gracefully if it's not available. Send a push notification via Home Assistant mobile app, which works on local network only, even with internet down, and trigger a Z-Wave siren at 85 decibels for immediate local response. The lights flashing component is crucial because it works even when everything else fails. Zigbee mesh networks operate independently of your internet connection. As long as the hub has power and the mesh is intact, lights flash. I watched my father's system work during a 6-hour internet outage. Motion detection triggered correctly. Lights flashed, and the Z-Wave siren blared. The only failure was the SMS to my phone, which sent 7 hours later when internet returned. Everything critical worked locally. Which brings us to the hub, where privacy lives or dies. Your choice of hub determines whether this system is truly local or just surveillance with extra steps. Home Assistant with Zigbee, Z-Wave, or Matter support is the gold standard. It's open source, runs on a $60 Raspberry Pi or a $150 dedicated appliance, processes all automation logic locally, never phones home unless you explicitly configure external integrations, supports every protocol. Zigbee via USB coordinator stick like the sawn-off Zigbee 3.0 dongle for around $20, Z-Wave via USB controller, Matter and Thread via compatible border router, Wi-Fi devices through local API calls. Steep learning curve. 0 monthly fees. SmartThings from Samsung is cloud-dependent. Even their so-called local processing features require periodic check-ins with Samsung servers. It's free, but your automation logic and sensor data flow through their infrastructure. Not acceptable for privacy-conscious deployments. Apple Home via HomePod or Apple TV processes most automations locally via HomeKit Secure Video, but vendor lock-in is brutal. Only works with Apple-certified devices, which are typically twice the cost of generic Zigbee equivalents. Decent privacy compared to Google or Amazon. Apple's business model isn't ad-driven, but you're trapped in their ecosystem. If Apple decides to deprecate your devices, as they did with HomeKit Secure Video on first-gen Apple TV 4K, you're screwed. Habitat Elevation does local processing, supports Zigbee and Z-Wave natively, Matter via update, around $150 one-time cost. Solid privacy, but less flexible than Home Assistant. Good middle ground if you want local control without Linux command line. So why does any of this actually matter? The aging-in-place crisis is real. The CDC reports that 1 in 4 adults over 65 falls each year, and 20% of those falls cause serious injury. The alternative to home automation, assisted living, costs $4,000 to $6,000 monthly. Smart sensors that detect prolonged inactivity and alert caregivers can genuinely save lives. But here's what the industry won't tell you. Commercial senior monitoring systems fail regularly, and when they do, they fail silently. LifeStation's fall detection pendant requires the wearer to push a button after falling. If your parent is unconscious, it doesn't help. Medical Guardian's automatic fall detection produces false positives so frequently, dropping a phone triggers it, that caregivers learn to ignore alerts. Catastrophic when a real emergency happens. These systems also stop working entirely during internet or power outages unless you've paid for expensive battery backup and cellular failover. Cloud dependency creates single points of failure. When Ring's servers went down for 4 hours in 2024, millions of cameras and doorbells stopped working. Imagine a senior monitoring system doing that. Wink, once a major smart home hub, nearly bricked thousands of devices in 2020 when it tried to force a mandatory subscription. Seniors' safety systems shouldn't depend on a startup's quarterly revenue. Nest discontinued Works with Nest in 2023, breaking thousands of third-party integrations overnight. Your carefully configured alerts? Gone. Local automation eliminates these vulnerabilities. When my father's internet went down during an ice storm, power stayed on, but the Comcast line was cut. His Zigbee motion sensors and Z-Wave door contacts kept working. Home Assistant ran locally. Lights still flashed for alerts. The only thing that failed was outbound SMS to my phone, which I didn't need because I was checking the local dashboard on my laptop connected to his home network via VPN. Where senior automation genuinely helps, medication adherence through time-based automations that flash lights and announce reminders at pill times, set via simple cron triggers 0, 8, 20 for 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. reminders. Wandering prevention using door sensors that trigger alerts if exit doors open between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Z-Wave door sensors respond in 30 to 100 milliseconds, fast enough to catch someone mid-exit. Fall detection without cameras using multi-sensor logic. Motion in bathroom, then no motion for X minutes catches most falls without video surveillance. Social check-ins through daily proof-of-life automations that require the senior to press a button each morning. If not pressed by 10 a.m., caregiver gets alerted. Simple, effective, private. Where it fails, automation can't replace human connection. It won't notice depression, cognitive decline, or subtle health changes. It's a safety net, not a replacement for actual caregiving. Now let's look at the different types of senior-focused smart home systems and their trade-offs. First, commercial medical alert systems like Life Alert, Medical Guardian, and LifeStation. These are cloud-dependent with high privacy costs. They provide wearable pendants, automatic fall detection, and 24/7 call centers. Monthly fees range $25 to $60. These systems require landline or cellular connectivity and route all alerts through centralized servers. The privacy issues are massive. You're paying them to surveil your parent. Medical Guardian's privacy policy explicitly states they collect location data, activity patterns, and health-related information, and may share it with partners and affiliates for service improvement and marketing. Translation, they're building behavioral profiles and selling insights. These systems are inherently cloud-dependent. No local alternative exists. Second, DIY local automation using Zigbee, Z-Wave, or Matter via self-hosted hub. Build a senior monitoring system using Home Assistant, generic Zigbee sensors, and local notification logic. Total hardware cost around $300 to $500, depending on home size. 0 monthly fees, full privacy. You own the data. The main protocols to consider. Zigbee is a mature mesh network protocol. Sensors cost $10 to $30 each, 50 to 200 millisecond latency. Rock-solid reliability if you have 3 or more powered Zigbee devices like smart plugs or light bulbs forming the mesh. Z-Wave is slightly more expensive, $20 to $40 per sensor, but longer range and better wall penetration, 30 to 100 millisecond latency. Better for large homes or homes with thick walls. Matter 1.4 is the new cross-platform standard. Still maturing, device selection is limited in 2026, but growing fast. Supports local control via thread mesh networks. Here's what automation logic looks like in practice. For nighttime bathroom safety, if the time is between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. and the bathroom motion sensor triggers, then turn on bathroom lights at 30% brightness in red spectrum to preserve night vision. Turn on hallway lights at 20% brightness, and keep lights on for 5 minutes after last motion. For medication reminders, if the time is 8 a.m. and the medication taken today sensor equals false, then flash kitchen lights 3 times. Announce time for morning medication on the kitchen speaker. Wait 30 minutes, then check again. If still not taken by 9 a.m., send SMS to caregiver. This approach scores a perfect 10 out of 10 for privacy. Everything runs locally, 0 data leaves the house. Third option, hybrid systems that use local processing with optional cloud alerts. Use local hub like Home Assistant or Habitat for automation logic and sensor processing, but route emergency alerts through cloud services like Twilio for SMS or Pushover for push notifications. This keeps routine automation private while ensuring critical alerts reach caregivers even if you're not on the local network. The configuration flow looks like this. Home Assistant connects to local Zigbee sensors, runs local automation logic, and if an emergency is detected, makes an API call to Twilio, which is a cloud SMS gateway. And that sends SMS to the caregiver phone. Only the final alert transmission touches the cloud. Motion patterns, timing data, and activity logs stay local. This scores about 8 out of 10 for privacy. Core automation is private, but you're trusting a third-party SMS gateway with emergency event data. Twilio's privacy policy is better than LifeStation's, but it's still a data leak point. Fourth option, voice assistant ecosystems like Amazon Alexa, Google Home, or Apple HomeKit use a commercial voice platform to control smart devices. Simple to set up, widely compatible, but fundamentally cloud dependent. Alexa and Google analyze every voice command for advertising profiles. Apple is slightly better. HomeKit processes some automations locally, but ecosystem lock-in limits device choices. The privacy issues here are severe. Every Alexa turn on the lights command is recorded, transcribed, and analyzed. Amazon's privacy dashboard lets you delete voice recordings manually, but recordings still flow through their servers initially. From a privacy perspective, both Alexa and Google are surveillance devices with a helpful voice assistant bolted on top. Apple HomeKit earns maybe 2 points out of 10 for local processing of basic automations. Alexa and Google would score 0. Let's hit some common questions people have about this stuff. What's the easiest smart home system for seniors to actually use? The easiest system for most seniors combines voice control for daily tasks like lights, music, and weather checks with physical buttons for critical functions like emergency alerts and door locks. Use large Zigbee wireless buttons placed on nightstands and bathroom walls, programmed to trigger specific actions with single presses. No apps, no screens, just push the button. Pair this with a voice assistant configured for local processing through Home Assistant to avoid cloud dependency. An Amazon Echo Dot 5th Gen can handle basic voice commands locally when integrated with Zigbee devices via Home Assistant, though full privacy requires more advanced setup using Raspberry Voice Engine. Avoid systems that require smartphone apps or touchscreen navigation. These create frustration and abandonment. Can smart home devices detect falls without cameras? Yes, you can detect most falls using multi-sensor logic without video surveillance. Combine Zigbee or Z-Wave motion sensors with time-based rules. If motion is detected in a bathroom or bedroom, then no motion for 10+ minutes in that same zone and the door remains closed, trigger an alert. This logic catches someone falling and remaining immobile while avoiding false positives from normal sitting or sleeping. For higher accuracy, add pressure-sensitive floor mats near beds and bathrooms that detect when someone steps onto the mat but doesn't step off within a reasonable time frame. Commercial wearable fall detectors like Apple Watch's fall detection feature work, but they require the wearer to keep the device charged and on their body. Compliance is the failure point. Sensor-based detection is passive and doesn't require the senior to remember anything. Do senior smart home systems work without internet? Local automation systems work perfectly without internet if you use Zigbee, Z-Wave, or Thread protocols with a self-hosted hub like Home Assistant or Habitat. These protocols create independent mesh networks that communicate device to device without cloud servers. Motion sensors trigger lights, door sensors send alerts to local speakers, and automation logic executes entirely on the hub. The only functions that fail during internet outages are remote notifications to caregiver phones via SMS or cloud push services. But you can solve this by setting up local notifications through VPN access to the home network or by using cellular backup. A $20 a month hotspot keeps critical alert paths working. Commercial cloud-dependent systems like Ring, Nest, or SmartThings stop working entirely when internet fails, which is exactly when you need monitoring most. What smart home devices help with medication management for elderly people? Medication management automation uses time-based triggers with multi-channel reminders. At scheduled pill times, 8 a.m., 8 p.m., whatever, flash kitchen lights, play a spoken reminder through local smart speakers, and display a notification on wall-mounted tablets. If the medication is taken, confirmed via a button press or smart pill dispenser sensor, mark the task complete. If not taken within 30 to 60 minutes, escalate to caregiver alerts via SMS or push notification. You can use Zigbee or Wi-Fi smart pill dispensers like the Hero Automatic Pill Dispenser, check the link below, which dispense pills at scheduled times and detect when pills are removed from the tray. Note, though, this device requires Wi-Fi and cloud connectivity, limiting privacy. For fully local systems, pair basic time-triggered light and sound reminders with manual confirmation buttons. Your parent presses a Zigbee button after taking pills to cancel escalation alerts. This approach is less automated, but fully private. How much does it cost to set up a senior-friendly smart home? A basic privacy-first senior smart home costs $300 to $600 for initial hardware, plus 6 to 12 hours of setup time if you're comfortable with technical configuration. Expect to spend around $60 to $150 for a hub, either a Raspberry Pi running Home Assistant or Hubitat Elevation, $80 to $200 for Zigbee or Z-Wave sensors, that's 4 to 8 motion sensors, 2 to 4 door or window sensors, 2 to 4 smart buttons, $50 to $100 for smart lights, either bulbs or in-wall switches, and $30 to $80 for smart speakers or sirens for alerts. There are 0 monthly fees if you build with local protocols and self-hosted hubs. For comparison, commercial medical alert systems charge $25 to $60 monthly, that's $300 to $720 annually, and require 1 to 3 year contracts, giving you less control and 0 privacy. If you're not technical enough to configure Home Assistant yourself, budget $500 to $1,000 to hire a local smart home installer who understands privacy-first automation. Ask specifically about local processing and avoid installers who only work with cloud platforms. Here's what I learned rebuilding my father's monitoring system after ripping out the Life Alert pendant that was sending location pings every 15 minutes. Simplicity and reliability matter more than features. He doesn't need voice control for 200 smart devices. He needs motion-triggered lights so he doesn't trip walking to the bathroom at night. He needs a big button next to his bed that summons help. He needs door sensors that alert me if he wanders outside at 2 a.m. The system I built uses 6 Zigbee motion sensors at $15 each, 4 Z-Wave door sensors at $25 each, 8 Philips Hue bulbs at $40 each using Zigbee protocol, 4 Akara wireless buttons at $15 each, and a Raspberry Pi 4 running Home Assistant for $60. Total hardware cost around $550. Setup took me about 10 hours spread across a weekend. Monthly cost? $0. He's been running it for 18 months. 0 cloud dependencies, 0 surveillance, 0 monthly fees. It's worked through 3 internet outages, including one that lasted 2 days. Motion sensors kept triggering lights, door sensors kept logging. The only thing that failed was SMS alerts to my phone, which I didn't need because I was checking the local Home Assistant dashboard via Tailscale VPN. When his power went out for 6 hours, everything died, obviously, but came back up automatically when power returned. No reconfiguration needed. The hard part isn't the technology. It's convincing yourself you don't need corporate hand-holding. The smart home industry has conditioned us to believe automation requires subscriptions, customer support lines, and cloud servers. It doesn't. You're trading convenience, plug-and-play setup, for control, ownership of your data and logic. For most people helping aging parents, that's a trade worth making. Start small. Add Zigbee motion sensors to trigger lights automatically. Add door sensors to alert you of nighttime wandering. Add a couple of wireless buttons for manual alerts. Run it all through Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi. You'll spend a weekend learning, but you'll own a system that can't be shut down, deprecated, or monetized by a corporation looking to squeeze subscription revenue from your parents' decline. That's what Privacy First Senior Automation looks like. No surveillance, no monthly fees, just local sensors, local logic, and actual control over the technology that's supposed to help the people you care about. That wraps up this episode of the Smart Home Setup Podcast. Thanks for listening. We've got new episodes coming your way every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you won't have to wait long for the next one. If you found this episode helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a 5-star rating and write a quick review. It honestly makes a huge difference. It's how other people who are looking for this kind of practical smart home info actually find the show. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe or follow so you get notified the second a new episode drops. Catch you on the next one.